This is video 3 for today. Have you slept? Have you eaten? Are you well? So you're probably wondering what this is. I'll get to that in a minute. I got on earlier today because I was going to do some... Okay, video 1, I got out my collage, my vintage needlework collage I've been working on, only to discover I'd spilt coffee on it, and then I had an accident with a can of Coke. So I had to stop everything and go and wash all that. Came back for the second video and I got out some cutter quilt that I bought from Beck of So Be Curated. And I thought I'd start a needle book, but I really struggled with choosing textiles and fabrics and whatnot to get this started. So I ended up ending that video because I just became so overwhelmed with trying to make a decision, and I felt like I needed some more supplies from inside. So I went in to have a look at what I'd washed last week. I washed a load of linen, and I've got some of that hanging out. Some of it's in the washing machine now. I put another load on to soak. I went through some linen I had inside that I washed last week. I then unpicked all these yo-yos. I do have more, but these are the ones that I've unpicked for now. I then went looking for some wool because while I was doing all that and having some lunch, I was watching YouTube videos or listening to them. I think I listen more than watch because I'm always moving. I came across Kate in the Nest again. She had not long posted another video and she was making little needle pincushions. I also collected some bits. This is scrap that I'm hanging on to. Also collected some bits here for... These are just bits that I've had. These are bits that have either been damaged or already cut up that I haven't necessarily just cut into myself. This is one of the issues I'm having. I'm really struggling to harvest from these vintage linens. I'm really struggling. So I thought I'd start with bits that are already unpicked or damaged. So I just trimmed around a few. This is one that I already had that had already been cut up, so I cut a bit off the end of it. I've already used some of this in my collage. I'm thinking though, this piece here that I might turn into a needle book. I was thinking that I would like to attach this. So I've just trimmed around that to give me a bit more of an idea of what it would look like. I'm struggling with the big contrast in the stark white against the aged white here, but I'm going to push through. I think I will draw a pen line around here a bit closer, and I'll use that to stitch. I think I'll just do overcast stitch to attach that. I might use some, what's it called, like violin iron-on stuff to stick it down to secure it. So I've done that while I've had the break, and I've cut these bits out because Kate in the Nest was doing some little pin cushions. I think she called them cupcakes. So I've spent some time in the break today cutting some wool out. So I've just cut a few different woolen pieces. To make some cupcakes. Now, the way that I'm starting to do them the way that Kate's constructed them, I'm starting to think I might change them up a little bit as I go. They'll end up a bit differently. These ones I feel maybe too small, but we'll see how we go. what I thought I'd show you while we're at it, I've got this little damask out because I'm going to wrap my work in it, so in case I spill shit again, I'm not as likely to stain it, am I? So what I thought I'd give you a quick look at is when I was teaching regularly, it came to my attention that people didn't necessarily know how to cut out a circle. And it's nothing on you, it's not your fault. If you're not taught how to do something, you're not going to know how to do it. And I learned that the hard way when I realised that I didn't know how to clean my house years ago. And I got so distraught because I thought I should know how to do this. Why don't I know how to do this? And then someone said to me, when you started driving, did you just hop in your car and drive? And I'm like, oh, no. And they're like, why not? I said, because I had to learn how to drive it. And they're like, exactly. So back to this, if you're not taught how to do it correctly, not necessarily correctly, but efficiently. So some people I've learned will, I'm just going to draw another circle on here. So I'm just going to draw a rough circle to do a demo. And it's not very round, but bear with me. Now this is going to be very exaggerated to give you an example. When I was teaching, I noticed people would sort of try and cut like this. And it was very stiff. Again, this is a very exaggerated example. And they wouldn't understand why their circles weren't as neat as mine. And again, this just comes from practice and from learning. So if you have never been shown, you're not going to know. There's a little bit of a trick to it. So you open the scissor up, not all the way, not ridiculously, where it's comfortable. And you put your fabric up where you're starting and you slowly squeeze the scissor with your dominant hand. I don't know how this goes for left-handers because I believe unless you have left-handed scissors, you can't do this with your left hand. So I'm gently squeezing with my, I'll say right hand for this instance because it is my right hand or your dominant hand. Gently squeezing, moving, I'm pivoting my right hand, but I'm also pivoting my left hand. So they're both slowly, in fact, I'm moving my left hand more than my right hand. My right hand's pretty well staying stationary. And I'm using my left hand to maneuver the fabric. The traffic's coming. It's that time of day where everyone's finishing work or going out for Friday night. So, as I said, gently squeeze the right hand, the scissors, and I'm mainly maneuvering the fabric with my left hand. What I notice some people will do is not move the fabric. Don't be afraid to move the fabric as you're cutting. That's the key to getting a nice even cut on your circle. And don't get me wrong, it's not going to be perfect. And you probably notice I'm cutting just inside that line. And the reason I'm doing that is because I don't want that black marker on my work surface. That's the main reason. And it also gives me a consistent line to follow. If I try and cut down the middle of that marked line, it's going to get a bit of a wobble again. It'll be a little bit serrated or inconsistent. So if I consistently follow the inside of that black line, I'm more likely to get a nice smooth round circle. So there's that. I'll put that on my pile of circles cut. I've got more marked and cut. And then we've got the motorbike's going to start up down the back. This little bowl that you might have seen earlier in the beginning, I want to show you. These bits that I just cut out around the circle, if they're not big enough to do anything with, I'm cutting them up. Hopefully this noise will stop. Cutting them up quite small. And they are quite small. And I'm doing this. I wish that bike would go away. It usually doesn't start until the weekend. Now my dog's going to bark at him. Go and lay down, please. It's okay. So, back to these little bits. This stuff that I'm cutting up is pure wool. And I don't want to just throw this scrap out. It may be too small to stitch on, but I'm going to keep all these little bits because I can use it to stuff my pincushion. I like to stuff my pincushions with wool or crushed walnut because the wool shouldn't let your needles or pins go rusty. I often use raw wool straight off the sheep that's clean. I do clean it, but I'd like to try and keep some lanolin on it. Alpaca doesn't have the same effect because it doesn't have the lanolin, and the lanolin's one of the keys to stopping your wool from your needles from rusting. So I won't bore you with cutting all of these pieces, but I basically just cut it into strips. These funny shapes, I'll try and cut a strip where possible. There's another strip. And then these funny shapes that have been cut off, again, just cut strips. I just find it's easier to cut strips, then I can just dice it up. And there's no quick solution. I have seen some people lay it out and get their roller cutter and chop over it, but I like it to be more consistent than that. I guess I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So yeah, there we go. We saved these bits that we can use to stuff our pin cushions with. And the reason I cut it up this small is because if I was just to throw these bits in like that, in the big pieces, the pin cushion will be quite lumpy. No matter how tight you pack it, it'll be lumpy and feel funny and just won't be a nice finish. So if I cut them up like little beads, it works a lot better. Okay, now in saying that, what Kate did was get 2 pieces of her wool. Let's go there, this is a bigger size. And she did you can go and watch her video, of course, you're better off to watch hers. Kate in the Nest, I will add a link. She did a running stitch around the outside. Now I'm starting off doing mine a bit differently straight up. I'm starting off with a smaller circle, just because I want to see how it goes first. I've got this piece of vintage Anchor embroidery cotton. It's all cotton. It's quite thick. It is... Here I am squinting trying to read it. My bloody glasses are sitting on top of my head. It's quite thick anyway. I don't know what you'd call it, but it is cotton and it is for embroidery. I got a couple of packets the other day. So I'm starting off with some of that. I started doing a blanket stitch, but then I decided I wanted a fancy little edge. I don't know if you can see that clearly because my camera is dying. Now this is where it's probably a good segue to throw in here. I've hesitated to ask for this for a long time, but I keep getting told to put it out there. I need a new phone and I need a new ring light stand to do my recordings. Of course, I need the phone for many more things than just recording. And I'd love to be able to put more content out for you guys. I'd love to share more videos. I'd like to share more instructional videos, more how-tos, more techniques, the way I do things, because people have been asking me for years, how do you do that? I haven't been able to record until recently, because I haven't had the capacity to record, edit, store, and then upload. More recently, YouTube has allowed me to start doing these live videos, which means that I can then upload them, save them and upload them for you guys to watch. It means that I can't edit them, and at this stage I'm not worried about editing, because I just want to get this information out there. I know I should make it look prettier, but that's not my goal. But to do that, I need a phone that works. My phone it's over 5 years old now. I have a Samsung S20 Ultra, which I love. It's a fabulous phone. It's been a great phone, but I have to charge it a minimum of 3 times a day. It won't hold a charge. The screen's all burned, like the image burning in the screen. There's a crack. There's some cracks down in the bottom corners when my dog, when she was a puppy, threw it out of my hand and cracked it all open. I've got to constantly delete apps and images and videos to free up space. It's overheating, it's shutting down. Today the whole back just fell off because the glue has become so warm it just keeps falling off. It does have a protective case on it, but my poor phone is, I think, at its end, and I do need another one. I am on my own with my dog. I don't have a car. It's my only lifeline. I've been trying to save for one for the last 4 years, maybe a bit longer, and I just haven't been able to do that because, like all of us, the cost of living, it's been difficult. So I've had quite a few people tell me to put it out there, and if anyone is in a position or interested in sponsoring me by means of a new phone or a new ring light stand, that would be wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. It's just been suggested to me today that maybe I do an Amazon wish list. And I mean, they don't necessarily have to be from Amazon, but it might give you a bit of an idea of what I'm after. I'm starting to think, my family keep telling me I need to switch to Apple. So, I mean, that to me is massive. I don't know. I feel like I'm never going to be able to afford one. So if anyone's in a position to do that, that would be wonderful. And I'll do that wish list up and upload it later. But for now, I wanted to show you how I'm doing my blanket stitch. I don't know if this is an actual stitch. I decided to experiment. I'm liking the look so far. So I'm coming in like a normal blanket stitch with my thick cotton that I spoke about earlier. There's our normal, usual blanket stitch. Then, instead of going into the blanket, I'm coming back into that blanket stitch loop, and I'm doing another blanket stitch, and I'm pulling that first one in quite tight as I can. Then I'm coming in for a second one. Maybe if I put this, it might make it a little bit clearer to see. Second blanket stitch, and again pulling it quite firmly, and then I'm coming in with a third, and I'm hoping I'm not going to run out of this length before I finish, and I think I will. And that is creating little woven picot scallops. So I've done my 3 into the loop, then I come and do my next blanket stitch into the blanket. Pulling that quite firmly. Hold that thread to the left of the work, and then I'm coming in and doing my first blanket stitch into the blanket stitch loop. Pulling it quite firmly, I'm pushing that down with my thumbnail. Come in with my second into that same loop. And again, pull it quite firmly, not quite as firmly as that first one, because we want it to try and taper down into a triangle shape with those stitches. Then I come in with my third. And there we go, another little picot of sorts. Next blanket stitch into the blanketing. Pulling it firmly. And then I'm doing my next stitch into that last blanket stitch loop. So, I thought I'd try that for a change. Make it a little bit different. And then what Kate does is she finishes her edging, and then she comes and layers up different things onto her little pin cushion. Now, I don't know whether to put, where did I put them? I had them already. Gee, I'm a goose. Fair income. Ah, right underneath me. I mean, that wouldn't be very practical because I'd have to cut it, and I don't want to cut it because I don't want that crocheting to be frayed. Although it's already, I don't know what's happened there. That's how it was given to me. This one, I cut, it wasn't finished, but I'd cut it off where it had started, and I tried to very carefully tie these ends off with these little lengths of crochet cotton. So we could place something like that over it, but I don't know if it's got enough layers and texture. I don't want to put too many layers of these cottons in because you won't be able to get your pins and needles into it. Alternatively, I can put bits of fabric, I guess, and little... I'm undecided. This is a nice one. I like this one where the flower stands up. Kate's are stunning, and she's done layers and layers of different fabrics and textures. But I'm just concerned if I do that on this little piece that you won't be able to get your needle through it. I did think of maybe using one of these pieces, but then I feel like I'm going to cover all the wool. Maybe I can cover all the wool on the top. I do like these ones, and I do like... that one looks too big. I do like that one. I wouldn't mind putting that one on, and then possibly cutting out a... I wouldn't mind a... I think that one's too big though. I could potentially make a smaller one to just fill this area in. Maybe I could do that. But for now, I might just keep this. This cotton is it worsted? Is that the word I want? It's twisted, and as I'm stitching, it's coming untwisted. So I guess I'm just going to go back to this blanket stitch. and we're up to a regular blanket stitch, which is bloody hard to see through this monitor. Then the next stitch, holding that cotton off to the left hand side up here, and I'm coming in with another blanket stitch in my last blanket stitch. Again, I don't know if this is an actual stitch, I've just been experimenting, doing my second blanket stitch in my blanket stitch, and now number 3. And it makes those little picots. What I'm noticing though is, maybe because I'm pulling it too tight, it's starting to pucker or flange, get a wavy flangey effect happening, which is not what I was aiming for. But I'm not sure you guys would like to sit here and watch me stitch all the way around this, because I am very slow. It might be good to show you what I do when I run out of thread. I've put, if you're wondering about the quilt clips, these, I've put them on because the fabric kept moving. It's stretching and twisting, so this could be quite problematic. I probably should have put a stiffener behind it, some sort of violin or something, to minimize this happening. Or it's just because I'm pulling it too tight, and the reason I'm pulling it too tightly is because I want to stuff it, and I want to stuff it firmly with wool. And if I don't pull this tight enough, those seams will split. Potentially I could have stitched it first with a rain stitch or a machine stitch, and then come over it with this. That could have potentially reduced this happening. I do like to try and do as much as I can by hand and not use my machine, just because I like to be able to say it's completely done by hand. Oh, that one was close. I should be checking the back as I go to make sure I'm actually catching it all the way around as well. I think putting these picots up here, I think that's what's stretching it and making it wavy, which could work in our favour in the end. I think my dog's pressing her buttons trying to tell me she needs to go out, but I think yes. I think I accidentally stood on the outside one earlier and deleted it, so I'll have to go and fix that. Yes, sweetheart, soon. Give me a few minutes. He's a good girl. So maybe that's my cue to say time to finish this video for now. Can you see how it's lifting up here? That's because I'm stretching it, so this may be a complete failure. I'm going to persist and push through and see if I can finish this edge. It may work out, but it may not. Let's wait and see, hey? I'll come back. Don't know when I'll be able to be back. It won't be tonight because it's getting dark. Probably won't be tomorrow because I'm going to help my son tomorrow. And it probably won't be Sunday either. I need to get some work done around here. I've neglected my gardens because we've had so much rain. I've also, sorry, I didn't mean to grunt at you then. I also need to try and get some organisation done at home. I've been neglecting a lot of things because I've been doing rehab, I've been doing hydrotherapy and exercise physiology and physiotherapy and cognitive therapy and all sorts of things. And they give me the day off in between each session. And I've been coming home and pushing myself to do housework and gardening and cleaning and organising and purging and shopping and whatnot. And they told me yesterday that I need to rest in between my sessions. And I thought resting was not doing the therapy. And I ended up saying, well, I am resting. They're like, you're not. You shouldn't be this exhausted. You shouldn't be like this. You shouldn't be so fatigued. And I mean, I've got fibromyalgia, I've got chronic fatigue, I have acromegaly, I have quite a few other things. So I'm always fatigued. I'm always pushing through, you know, where's the line? But anyway, I ended up saying to them, what is your definition of me resting in between my sessions? And several of my therapists and my doctor said to me yesterday, you need to do nothing. You need to stay in bed, or you need to sit on a lounge with a good book or some stitching and do nothing. You need to rest your body and your mind completely between these sessions. So, I was resting today. Guess what I've done? Took the dog out the back to go to the toilet. Noticed that my tomatoes are mouldy and falling on the ground. So I spent a couple of hours tidying them up because I'd really want to get the fruit off them. I tidied up, not completely. I stopped myself. I pulled off all the mouldy leaves. I cleared out space around the bottom of the plants for them to get some airflow. I pruned them back a bit. I lifted them up off the ground. I put them up on trellises. Then I haven't cleaned up the mess that I left on the footpath. All the bits I cut off are still there. Then I ended up sweeping the front footpath. Then I ended up watering the plants in the front garden. Then I did several loads of washing. Then I cooked Willow's breakfast in between that. I watered some plants on the veranda. I've done several lots of stitching today. I've soaked some linen, I've washed some linen, I've hung it out to dry. I've sorted through piles of linen that I need to work through. What else have I done? So yeah, I've rested. This is why my therapy is not as effective as it should be, because I don't know how to sit still. If anyone knows any secrets, I'd love to know. But for now, I need to stop rambling and let you guys go. I'll try and get this finished tonight and I'll come back and show you as soon as I can if it worked out. But thanks again for joining me. I hope you may have learned something, or I may have inspired you to try something else you haven't. Until next time, be safe, be well, and I'll see you again.